What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
I would certainly like to maintain a friendly relationship with you, going forward.
No, the pleasure's all mine. I've got a slate of events in mind going forward, so if you're interested, please feel free to attend.
I got the idea they were still a bit too leery to attend the Founders Festival. Now, though, they were being downright familial with me. All that effort from Rigurd, Mjolmile, and the others must have been paying off. Now I was feeling really good. Hinata gave me all sorts of doom and gloom yesterday, but I guess I really didn't need to worry. But the next person to greet me sent me straight into a depression.
People, quit bothering Sir Rimuru. Counselors from tiny dots on the map with hardly anything to them shouldn't be occupying his time all day.
Indeed. All this rudeness may give Sir Rimuru the wrong idea about our council. So please, remember your place and leave him alone.
My little entourage was promptly chased off by a group of representatives who acted like they owned the place. I wanted to ask who was being rude here, but I held back. Soe told me via thought communication that these people were from nations with some clout in this council. Every representative was allegedly equal, but that wasn't really the practice. That was shown perfectly well by these people who took it as their prerogative to lord it over their peers. There was definitely a pecking order here, based on your social standing.
Right, Sir Rimuru. I tell you, you'll never have any constructive conversation with people like that.
Yeah, thanks. And what would you call constructive?
I really didn't want to deal with these guys, but I decided to play along.
Heavens be! I suppose you may not be picking up on the hints, Sir Rimuru.
It stands to reason, I think. Sir Rimuru has never had to deal in noble etiquette before. But don't worry. We'll teach you everything you need to know.
A simple question, and already they were answering me with stuck-up laughter. They made it seem so natural that I couldn't even tell if they were being deliberately malicious. A bit overly familiar perhaps, but it beat being feared, I think?
By the way, Sir Rimuru, I hear you've been busy crafting a great deal of interesting things?
Yes. They say you're considering a Magitrain system, for example, and let me tell you, my nation would be more than happy to be part of that effort.
Ah yes, precisely. And the same is true with mine. We'd be happy to pitch in. Of course, we'd like a little, in return.
Sure, so this is what jaw-dropping means. Rude ain't the half of it. I went lightly because these are presumably nobility, but that was a mistake. I must have really given them the wrong first impression. But I was on their turf. I needed to hold back, or things could easily spiral out of control. Broad mind. Given all my grandstanding to Hinata, I couldn't get riled up here.
Well, we need to put rails in place before we can run any Magitrains. We've already created an order for our layout construction, so I'm afraid I can't take any more requests right now.
No need to worry yourself over such details. I will gladly arrange matters with my government, so if you could give us some priority with your delivery, that would be quite fine.
Something told me he had no idea what a Magitrain was. He'd never seen the real thing, after all. As if that weren't bad enough, he was also completely ignoring my own priorities and throwing thoughtless, one-way demands at my feet. But, again, patience.
No, as I said, there's an order to this.
But as I tried to bottle up my anger and turn him down, the demands just kept piling up.
Then perhaps some other product, then? If you could arrange for some weapons or armor, we will be happy to buy it. Of course, don't forget to compensate us later.
The bearded man in front of me, representing the Duchy of Lakia, was a particular eyesore. He was not so stealthily demanding a bribe. I wondered if he had somehow forgotten I was a demon lord. The nations adjoining the forest of Jura were exposed to monster threats, but these more inland nations enjoyed total peace and security from them. That's why they prospered so much, I suppose, and maybe they just didn't see a demon lord as that big of a deal, but this was still an awful way to approach me. I felt like an idiot for even giving him the time of day.
Also, may I inquire as to what kind of education your agent Mjolmile has? I asked my officials to have him open some business channels, but he's been rather evasive about giving a reply, I hear. Would we be able to work with someone else instead?
I wanted to yell, "Shut up," at him. If this was the type Mjolmile dealt with, then I was inadvertently putting him through a ton of pain. He always seemed to brush them off with ease, but some officials are more stubborn than others. I had a lot to learn from him.
I'll look into that.
I replied with a smile. Such a lovely turn of phrase, "I'll look into that." indicating your interest in getting the job done, but offering no firm timetable, freeing you from the obligation to actually do anything. The secret weapon of elite office staff everywhere. That was the brilliant strategy I deployed: bluff my way through, then pretend the conversation never happened.
Ah, good to hear.
We'll look forward to future matters, then.
And now, we'd best be on our way.
Don't be shy about offering your lineup, now. We can talk anytime.
That phrase deftly shooed all those fools away. Now that's how an adult deals with matters. If you want something, go buy it yourself, that's what I say.
Ah, certainly, I look forward to that.
I lied as I saw the representatives go. What a pain they were. I had no obligation to give them anything. It'd be much surer for us if we just sold our wares through the free guild. At least they didn't demand bribes. A few other counselors approached me as well, and I gave some quick greetings before moving along. Any long conversations here seemed likely to get me in trouble. It was still morning and already I was getting a bit testy, but at least this was good experience. If I caused any problems before the conference even began, there's no telling what kind of tongue-lashing Hinata would give me later. I decided to accept things as they were as we entered the hall.
Should you have let them go like that, Sir Rimuru? I can't believe you forgave their flippant behavior.
Benimaru turned to me the moment the attendants guided us to my seat. He held back before, following my lead, I suppose. I was ready to vent back at him, but Soe and Shuna beat me to the punch.
Don't expect Sir Rimuru to act like you. The bleating of little minions like them would never be enough to disturb his mind.
Exactly, my brother. Sir Rimuru has a heart as broad as the wide open sea. It would be foolish for him to engage with the common crowd like that.
Sure. If that's what they say, I guess I'll just have to play along.
Yeah, something like that. Benimaru, if you let that rile you, you've still got a lot to learn.
Of course, I was angry on the inside. But if Shuna and Soe were kind enough to misread my body language for me, I had to work with it. I spent a few more minutes lecturing them on the finer points of interacting with humans. The seats were laid out in a fan shape, with us at the base, where the chairman would normally be situated. This put everybody's focus squarely on us, one desk and one chair. My associates had to stand behind me. The chairman emceeing this session had moved to a safer seat on the second mezzanine. I say, safer as compared to us. Being a demon lord must have put a lot of people on their guard around here, and having all their eyes on me made it terribly difficult to collect my thoughts. So the meeting was formally brought into session, but that's when hell really began for me. I was trying to be shrewd, as haughty as my post demanded, but I couldn't lose my temper, either. I had to hold it all in, listening to everything the counselors said. Hinata had clued me in on the agenda before I came here. First, on the subject of Tempest joining the Council of the West, the representatives were debating on assorted conditions to impose on the deal. These could be broadly divided into 3 demands. 1. Adherence to international law. 2. Access to our economic sphere. 3. Provision of military power. Number 1 was no problem to me. If we became a member, we'd have a duty to follow the law, big or small. The council didn't have any right to be involved with the internal laws of other nations, which eased my concern. Each individual merchant would have to follow the rules of whatever country they were doing business in, and if any problems arose, they'd be resolved following those laws. Got a problem with that judgment? The merchants could file a complaint with their nation's embassy. Depending on how that turned out, it'd either become an international issue or the merchant would have to give it up. Frankly, I liked that system a lot more than what I saw after the Founders Festival. It established an international legal framework to preside over cross-border issues, complete with an international court and a judge from a third-party nation. In fact, that was part of the Council's role in this region, with representatives recusing themselves as the legislature debated issues involving them. Nothing too tricky about it. Of course, to keep things fair, we needed to enact and announce a body of law for our own nation. That was an issue, but I had good old Raphael on my side. It had a full grasp of laws from all nations, and it used it to perfectly cover all the bases as it defined our own set for us. We already sent a copy of that to the council, so all was well. Providing access to our economy presented a few issues. Given the lack of patents in this world, the trend was for whoever produced the best copy of something to win all the marbles. Before that, however, there was that heavenly army that attacked whenever our civilization got too advanced. An army of 1,000,000 angels descending from the sky and razing our cities to the ground. That's why the Western nations had no gas or electricity, not even steam engines. But this didn't mean life was difficult. We had magic and, by extension, magic-driven items. Our attire didn't lose out to Japan at all, and while the transport of fresh foods was out of the question, our nations were good at food storage. There was some excellent magic being harnessed for building construction, leading to some very impressive work. I'm not sure you could replicate some of the castles and other standout projects with modern Japanese technology. So everyone's core needs, food, clothing, shelter, were being fulfilled, and life was actually pretty pleasant in the cities. So what's the problem? The problem was that, between Vester and Gabble's presentation and Kurobi's weapon and armor exhibition, word about our technology was starting to leak out, as shown by that bearded guy from Lakia asking about my magitrains. Yam and Majoran were commanding large groups of workers, of course, so this was expected. I didn't mind if people knew about our stuff, but I did mind the people who tried to steal it. Or really, trying to steal it was one thing, but now you had people like that Lakian guy trying to make us build a railroad and calling it a business transaction.
Lakia should share in this first.
How could you be so thoughtless? Sir Rimuru, the Republic of Zamund is far more worthy of serving as Tempest's closest partner.
Order. Now is not the time for debate between member nations. You're simply baffling Sir Rimuru.
If the white-bearded chairman hadn't stepped in to quiet things down, we might have been bogged down forever. Open markets, in themselves, weren't a problem, but I wasn't expecting an obligation to share all of our tech. If they see us as some kind of international handyman for them, I dreaded how they might try to use us in the future. Now I saw why I had reason to worry about the things I did. And despite how depressed I already felt, the conference was still dragging on. As for the third condition, a military power-sharing deal, we'd need to have some debate on that. Following Hinata's word of caution, I had Soe do some more research for me.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to Rembaru, Bill Power, Luminous Eka, Cradlestir, James Yap, Chadvota, Tin Plays Games, It's Me's Way, Geek Crimson, and last but not least, shoutout to Blake Kirkovich. I'll see you guys in the next video.